conversation because you've made some big news. You've recently announced you are officially jumping into the Texas Senate race. It is an already heated Republican primary. So to start off the conversation, what made you throw your hat in the ring?
Well, first of all, I got in this race because, again, I've said this 1,000 times. This race cannot be about a blood feud between Ken Paxton and John Cornyn. That's all I'm saying. We are not talking about the issues that are most important to Texans, which is the oil and gas industry, keeping our southern border secure and keeping it safe, and just overall security amongst my fellow Texans. These conversations are being thrown by the wayside because of mudslinging. Quite frankly, I'm just sick of watching it happen, and so is the primary voter. Also, I think it's time for the next generation of leadership. John Cornyn has been in the Senate, which will be for 24 years, and it is time to term limit him and give the primary voter another MAGA, America First option like me. I was the first person in the country to endorse President Trump. I campaigned with President Trump. I was on the campaign trail with him as a top surrogate. President Trump then went on to win Texas by 15 points. This is exactly what Texans want. This is exactly what primary voters want, and we are giving them another America First option.
I'm curious what makes you different from the other Republicans in this race. You're running against Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. You're also running against Senator John Cornyn. And as you said, he is now running for his 5th term in the Senate. You are saying that you are the MAGA alternative here. However, Senator Cornyn is touting that between President Trump's first term and second term, he's voted in lockstep with Trump 99% of the time. So I'm curious, where is the daylight between you and Cornyn as well as you and Paxton?
Well, let's keep in mind that John Cornyn has a Liberty score of 54%, and the primary voter ends up buying it because he has spent $25 million over the course of the past few months, and he's still polling in the high 20s and low 30s, and he's a 24-year incumbent. That's just not going to work. Also, before me getting into this race, I was polling at 22%. That is unbelievable. There's 20% of the primary electorate that's still undecided. So if he was doing his job in the primary, then under no circumstances would me or General Paxton be in this position whatsoever. Again, we need America First patriots. And although he touts about voting with him 99% of the time, we also know that's flat out not true. And I want to let people know that I was a person that endorsed President Trump on November the 15th on 2022. John Cornyn endorsed President Trump on January the 23rd, 2024, after the Iowa caucuses. Do not tell me you are America First when it took you over a year and a half to endorse the president.
And what about Attorney General Ken Paxton? Where's the differences there between what you believe, your campaign, the things that matter to you, opposed to him?
I think General Paxton is actually one of the finest attorney generals that we've seen in the entire country. He is a fighter. He is somebody that has supported President Trump. But I also think that my youth is my asset. Keep in mind that our vice president is 41 years old. Our Secretary of State is in his early 50s. Our Secretary of War is in his mid 40s. And that's exactly where I am at 43 years old. This is the time for the next America First fighters to step into the fray to continue President Trump's legacy. And one thing that I always say is that the United States Senate is not a retirement community. This is not about getting the early bird special here. This is about people that want to give their best lives to this country, step into the fray and fight for it now. And I think that's the big difference maker between us all. And the fact that I'm giving up my seat, a lot of people are really kind of concerned about that. Wesley, why would you do that? Look, I don't believe in doing this for 10 years, just staying fat and happy and just sitting in the House of Representatives. I believe in taking my talents to the people of Texas and using my God-given talents to the best of my ability. And it's not about being comfortable. It's about doing what you are called to do. And as a military veteran, as a West Point graduate, as somebody that's a former Apache pilot and deployed to the Middle East multiple times, I have skin in this game. I have a 6, a 4, and 2-year-old at my house. I want to ensure that we have a better future for them. And that's what makes me different from my opponents.
I know we've had a conversation, not you and I specifically, but the country's been having a conversation for a while now on if there should be age limits, if there should be term limits for people serving in Congress as lawmakers, in the Senate, etc. Do you think that there should be term limits based on what you're saying?
Of course, I believe that. In fact, I've signed a term limit commitment. But the problem is this: when you have 70-year-olds and 80-year-olds that aren't willing to fire themselves because they've been sitting around there for 20, 30, 40, in some cases even 50 years, what you find out is that that's not going to happen. So it's up to we the people to term limit these people when the time is right. I think 24 years is long enough.
What do you think the limit should be? You think 24 years is long enough? Should it be 2 terms, 3 terms? What does that look like?
Three terms, and 3 terms in the Senate maximum, which is that's 18 years, by the way. So that's sufficient.
I mean, that's a pretty long time. But
Yeah.
I did want to talk about a recent poll. You noted that you have over 20% of the vote. It's a sharply divided GOP electorate. Paxton and Cornyn are ahead. They are almost neck and neck here, almost tied at 34% and 33%. Who do you think that you can peel votes more easily from, Paxton or Cornyn?
I think we peel equally from both, and at the end of the day, people are going to have the opportunity to choose the best candidate. But I will say this: with me getting in this race, it ensures that we're going to have we're going to have 2 America First fighters that are going to be at the finish line. That's going to be me and Ken Paxton. Should it come to a runoff, or should it go further than that? That's what we have ensured. The primary voter does not want John Cornyn, hence the reason why a 24-year incumbent is still polling in the low 30s. He should be in his 60s, 70s, probably 80s. In fact, he probably shouldn't even be having a primary challenge at all, which means that the primary voter is looking for a change.
Let's say it isn't you who wins this primary. Let's say it's either Cornyn or Paxton. Would you endorse both of them going forward? Would you only endorse Paxton? I mean, what does that support look like for you after?
I'm endorsing myself. I'm endorsing myself to make sure that I win this race and that I am the candidate, and I'm going to work tirelessly to do just that.